CH17 the National Hermits Convention. Let me make a few observations that are critical to understanding this next important physiological trigger. First, you buy from an emotional level, as you've already learned. You've also learned that the purchaser of a product justifies that emotional purchase using logic. But here's the unusual part. Often the purchaser, who uses logic to justify a purchase, knows the exact logical justifications for buying the product but does not realize the emotional reasons. Why do people own Mercedes automobiles? Why do they smoke Marlboro cigarettes? Why do certain fads catch on? It is because these people subconsciously want to belong to the group of people who already own that specific product. In the case of Marlboros, the smokers subconsciously want to join that group of smokers who have responded to the rugged Western image the cigarettes ad agency has created. 42 of 89 people who buy Mercedes often want to belong to that special group of successful and affluent car owners who drive Mercedes automobiles. Do you think it's because of the special braking or suspension system? Forget it. They're going out and spending megabucks to buy something that's maybe only slightly better than many other automobiles. The other cars can take you to the same places at the same speed, and yet these same people, all very intelligent, will go out and buy a Mercedes. And the list goes on. You name a product that has an established image and I'll show you a purchaser who, somewhere in the subconscious value system, wants to belong to the group that owns the product. Fashion, automobiles, cigarettes, gadgets, whatever the category, the consumer who buys a specific brand has been motivated to buy that brand by a desire to belong to the group of people who already own that brand. Period. When Volvo discovered that its customer base had one of the highest educational levels of any of the car manufacturers, they publicized this fact. They then noticed that when the same survey was conducted a few years later, the percentage jumped even further. The percentage jump was caused, in my judgment, by the association new buyers wanted to make with the more educated owners. They wanted to belong to that group. I've had my students say to me, well, what about hermits? Don't tell me they have a desire to belong. My answer, they want to belong to the group of people who consider themselves hermits. There must be thousands of them. To belong to the group means you don't necessarily have to be with anyone or be very social. And maybe the key word here is identify. The Mercedes owner wants to be identified with the class or group of people who also own Mercedes. Owning a Rolls-Royce in California in the 70s was the ultimate status symbol. I was amazed at how impressed people were with other people who own one. Being a Midwest boy and not growing up on the car-conscious West Coast, it was culture shock to realize how much a Rolls meant to somebody from the West Coast. Yet the car itself was one of the most conservative and old-fashioned looking automobiles on the road during its time. The desire to belong to and identify with a group of people who own a specific product is one of the most powerful triggers in selling and marketing. For example, if I knew that one of my prospects wanted to buy a certain branded product, it would first tell me physiologically what group that person wanted to belong to. I could then craft my presentation to take into account all of the emotional reasons for belonging to this other group that also corresponded to my product or service. Let's take that Mercedes example. The person buying a Mercedes would be somebody who might want to be treated as a wealthy person who expected quality and service. Realizing this would then allow me to offer those services, options, and perks that a wealthy person buying the car would expect as part of the purchase and as part of a wealthy person's physiological profile. I might expect exceptional and respect for service. Maybe a good quality loaner car when mine was brought in for service. I might expect special free road service if anything happened to my car. I might expect to be offered other after-sale considerations that only the wealthy would expect. My gift from the salesman might be an expensive pen and pencil set instead of a cheap keychain. Some of this is really common sense. But too often we don't look at the core motivation for 43 of 89, the purchase of a specific product, which could reveal a lot more about our prospect. Think of any product, magazine, service, or even location. What is the physiological profile of the person belonging to that group of people who buy the product or service or live in that location? It will give you some great ideas on how to treat the person. And it will help you realize what would motivate your prospect to consider buying your product. These clues to the emotional appeal your product has, when matched to the clues you can get from knowing your prospect and her ownership trends, is valuable knowledge at its most basic, core physiological level. In direct marketing, which is a very scientific field, we segment our mailing list both demographically and physiographically to make the mailings more efficient and profitable. For example, my best electronics buyer, while I was selling electronics, might have been somebody who subscribes to Popular Science, bought a camera recently, and flies an airplane. I can then take the lists of pilots, Popular Science subscribers, and recent camera buyers, put them all together, and determine the names that are common to all the lists. Look how efficient the system is for targeting your prospect. Why, it's like standing in a TV store and waiting until prospects start turning the knobs of a TV set, as I described in Chapter 6. As a final example, I found the most ideal customers when I was selling electronic gadgets in a new catalog I started, called Gadgets. The catalog was themed throughout with a toll-free number 1-800 gadgets, and even an editorial page on the love I had for gadgets. I even had a special graduation certificate proclaiming your achievement as a doctor of gizmology for anybody who fit in either of two categories, which I tongue-in-cheek listed as follows. Category 1, you must be a graduate engineer in electrical engineering as well as a certified multi-engine, instrument-rated pilot, plus an active amateur radio operator along with being a serious amateur photographer. Now we realize that not everyone qualifies, especially for all of these skills. So we've made our second category somewhat easier. Category 2, you qualify if you purchase any product from this catalog. No matter what you buy, even if you can read, just ordering something makes you so qualified you wouldn't believe it. Pass the qualifications in either of these two categories and we will send you a beautiful certificate. You can proudly display the certificate on your wall, announcing to the world that you have passed the rigorous qualifications necessary to earn the title of Doctor of Gizmology, and consequently have become a registered gizmologist. Almost 100 people sent me their qualifications, which matched exactly the very strict qualifications listed in Category 1. What I had listed in Category 1 were practically my own qualifications. Although I didn't graduate as an electrical engineer, I did study electrical engineering for 3.5 years in college until I was drafted into the Army. Other than this one fact, I met all of the other qualifications. I was an instrument-rated, multi-engine pilot, an active amateur radio operator, and a serious amateur photographer. In short, I was looking for all of those gizmologists who not only had the same tastes in gadgets that I had, but who had also experienced many of the same things that I experienced in the pursuit of my love of gadgets. They indeed belonged to my group. The desire to belong is one of the strongest physiological triggers on why people purchase specific products or services. Use it to your advantage by realizing what groups your 44 of 89 prospect belongs to and then matching the needs and desires of your prospect with those of your product. Trigger 17, desire to belong. CH18 airplane tail collecting made easy. In direct marketing, there are products classified as collectibles. Stamps, plates, dolls, and coins are but a few that have been offered by direct marketers in the past, and it is a very healthy and robust market niche. It's pretty easy to understand that an emotional urge exists to collect many of these items. But what you might be surprised to learn is that collecting is also true in practically every business. Take my experience with a mail-order watch buyer. An enthusiastic watch buyer is your perfect prospect for another watch. When I was selling watches in my catalog, I would periodically send mailings to customers who had previously ordered other products from me. I also mailed to my customers who had ordered watches. My best list for watches consisted of my existing watch owners. Now you might think, if you had a watch, what would you need another one for? Wrong. Many people actually collect them. They'll have several watches, several pairs of sunglasses, several pairs of jeans, a library of videos or compact discs, and even a dozen Hawaiian shirts. The list is endless. I'm always amazed at the number of dolls collected by QVC viewers. Some of their viewers are older women, long past childhood, yet among QVC's most avid collectors. And they have dozens of dolls. Small car models are also sold on QVC. They are some of the most popular products for men. And not to be outdone, there must be thousands of viewers who own many blue blocker sunglasses, some in several different styles. The point is, when selling whether in print, on TV, or in a personal selling situation, recognize that there is a very large segment of the population who, for whatever reason, has an emotional need to collect a series of similar products. These products bring great joy and satisfaction and in some cases utility. Think about those who collect real cars. Many who can afford them have collections that range up to hundreds of full-size automobiles. What kind of emotional need are they fulfilling? One of the ways that direct marketers optimize sales via the collecting instinct is by first sending, free of charge with the very first shipment, some sort of device to hold a collection. I can remember ordering silver airplane tails with various airline logos embossed on them from the Franklin Mint, a successful direct mail company that specialized in collectibles. I started collecting them to see how the Franklin Mint conducted its program rather than from any emotional interest in collecting airplane tails. 45 of 89, each one of the flat, 1/8-inch thick tails was made of pure silver, giving it value. The tails consisted of the vertical tail element, the part where the airline logo and symbol are located. And each of the logos was engraved into the silver tail. They were only a few inches wide, weighed about an ounce, and by virtue of just their silver content, they were obviously valuable. I received a beautiful 4-drawer handcrafted walnut chest with cutouts for each of the silver tails. The chest was so expensive looking that I felt a subconscious sense of guilt. I had to do something in return to show my appreciation to the Franklin Mint for sending it to me. Something like filling it up with airplane tails. Now I realize that you might think I'm exaggerating, but in truth, these were some of the emotions I felt when I received the chest. Then another emotion came over me. The chest had all these cutouts in which you placed the tails. I had this overwhelming anticipation of wanting to fill up each of the cutouts. Kinda like when I was a little kid and put round pegs in round holes. We are talking some very basic early childhood stuff here. And those tails indeed came once a month. I remember the thrill of seeing the Franklin Mint envelope arrive each month and my anticipation in opening the envelope to discover what airline's tail I had received. After opening the envelope and placing the tail in my handcrafted walnut chest, I saw I was getting closer to filling up the slots. First filling up the first drawer. Then I started the second drawer. I looked at my collection each time I put in a new tail and felt the pride of knowing that my tail collection was growing. That indeed I was accomplishing something that was not that hard to do, something I didn't have to really work hard to accomplish, but showed that I had real consistency in my life, like that scientific and physiological stuff I talked about in Chapter 1. Finally, I had enough tails in my chest that when guests visited in my home, I could show them my collection, which was now in a prominent position in my living room. I had achieved a level of self-actualization, of self-esteem, and of accomplishment that I had not felt before. I finally sobered up and stopped collecting. It was costing me a fortune, and after all, the only reason I started was for the research to personally feel the emotional reasons why people get sucked into these schemes. And the collection was kind of silly to start with. The airlines were either merging, going out of business, or changing their names so fast that even the Franklin Mint couldn't keep up. But this experience convinced me that there were lots of opportunities in the sales process for selling products to people who would not normally be considered collectors. I found that there were even people who collected gadgets or everything I offered, for that matter. To these people it was like I was their drug supplier. They couldn't get enough of my products. Just because you have sold a customer a product, don't ignore the opportunity to sell him the same product again or a new variation of that product. Just as I found out that my best watch customers were the ones who already owned watches, you might find that your best prospects are the ones who are already your customers and own an almost identical product. They often represent a powerful and overlooked market. A printer might like to collect printing presses, a gardener might like to collect garden tools, an architect might like to collect unusual drafting tools. You name the category, and there will probably be some large percentage of prospects in that group who have the motivation to collect whatever you are offering. This is often associated with consistency, as I outlined in Chapter 1. Once you have set a buying pattern, it is easy and comforting to be consistent in your future buying activity. The desire to collect extends beyond the obvious collectible products. If you've sold your 46 of 89 customer a product, consider the fact that the customer might also like to collect similar products. I wonder if there is a market for old airplane tails. Trigger at 18. Desire to collect. Section 2. The pain continues. As I completed this book, I realized that something was missing. Something of such major significance that it would cause me to stop the presses and hold up production and make a change. Yes, I needed to break this book into 2 sections. And so I stopped the presses, and here it is. Section 1 consists of the physiological triggers that motivate, persuade, and influence. Section 2 consists of the physiological triggers that motivate, persuade, and influence. Wait, you say, both sections sound identical. You're right. They are. Then why would I divide this book into 2 sections? To provide a clean break in the middle of the book. Possibly. But if the break doesn't matter, why do it? Is it to differentiate the first half of the book from the last half? Hardly. The entire book consists of pretty similar chapters, each of which can almost stand on its own. Could it be to plug one of my other books that would be relevant to this book and to my readers? That's ridiculous. It would appear as crass commercialism appearing right in the midsection of this volume. But, on the other hand, I'm not stupid. This certainly would be a wonderful opportunity for a plug. After all, this is a book on selling, and you might as well get a first-hand taste of it. Or should I say smell? And so, with a little bit of humility and a lot of chutzpah, I'd like to mention 3 books in this section break that you should definitely get your hands on. Quickly. Order any of the following books, and as a special gift, you'll be entitled to a free 3-volume slipcase that will hold all the books in my trilogy. This handsome case is in full color, and is a beautiful and attractive way to hold all 3 books. It is also a very clever way to get you to collect all my books, similar to the way I was sucked into buying stupid airplane tales when I received that expensive chest from the Franklin Mint. If you have a slipcase that holds 3 books and you have only one in it, you will feel this burning desire to get the other 2 books to fill the vacuum. And instead of ending up with a stack of silly airplane tales, you will own one of the best collection of marketing books in the entire universe. And I'm not just saying that. Well, I am, but it's based on a lot of wonderful reviews. I hope you won't feel too manipulated, and will realize that the collection is well worth getting sucked into. When you receive any one of the 3 books, you'll read about the free slipcase offer on the last page. All 3 books are written in the same style as this book. I write my own books, so what you get is pure me, not some hack I've hired to express him or herself with fancy words and 47 of 89 proper English. I'm sure you can tell I'm writing this. My first book is called Advertising Secrets of the Written Word. It is the ultimate resource on how to write effective advertising copy, but it is much more than that. Every salesperson can use the skill of writing powerful copy, whether it be in sales letters, personal letters, or brochures. This book guides and teaches you not only how to write copy but also how to make what you write even more effective. One of the 36 chapters in this 300-page book is called Physiological Triggers, the same theme as this book. But it covers the triggers just as they apply to copywriting. There are other chapters on insights that will help you communicate better at every level of your business career. It's an invaluable how-to book with plenty of illustrations, written in the same style as triggers. I urge you to order it from your favorite bookstore before you finish this book. ISBN 1-8916866-00-3. The second book is called Marketing Secrets of a Mail-Order Average. This 400-page book is packed with stories and lessons on how to find a product, and then market it through various forms of print advertising, such as catalogs, direct mail, and print ads. The use of magazines and newspapers is discussed, and there's a lot of information on how to make media work for you. As a salesperson, many of the stories will give you valuable strategies that you can implement immediately, utilizing many of the triggers you've learned in this book. Marketing Secrets 2 is packed with valuable information that anybody in marketing can learn from and appreciate. ISBN 1-8916866-06-2. The final volume in my 3-book trilogy is a 300-page book entitled Television Secrets for Marketing Success. It contains insights for getting your product on national television and promoting it to the mass market via the most powerful medium ever created for the sale of products. If you have a product that you'd like to put on a home shopping show, or use in an infomercial, or even a short 1-minute direct response spot, this is the book to invest in. There are plenty of stories and experiences to enjoy and learn from. ISBN 1-8916866-09-